This is the Guardroom Podcast, Episode 6. I'm your host, Ben Boyle. Today's guests are Jake Kielty and Travis Griffing. They are the 2024-2025 Regimental buttpots for Corps Bonfire. Jake is from Squadron 12, where he was the outfit buttpot and now currently serves as its first sergeant. He's also a member of the Corps men's soccer team and contracted with the Air Force. Travis is a member of Company G2 and was a piss pot there before moving on to Regimental buttpot. He works on their training and PR chain and is pursuing a Marine Corps contract. We spent our time today talking about how Corps Bonfire operates, what the culture and work environment of Bonfire is, how these guys are working to change the Corps' perspective on Bonfire, and what serving such a unique tradition means to them. I came from an outfit with no Bonfire involvement, so this conversation was a huge learning experience for me. These guys and the work that they do with Corps Bonfire have a whole new level of respect from me. If you're interested at all, I would highly recommend you reach out to either of them. You can contact them through the Corps Bonfire Instagram pages or their personal cell numbers. First cut is Sunday, September 1st, and it's not an event you're going to want to miss. I hope you all get as much out of this conversation as I did. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with your Corps buddies. The best thing you can do to help this podcast grow is just getting us out to a wider audience. With that being said, let's get into the show. Well, I think we talked a little bit. You're from
Squadron 12.
Okay. You do anything with 12?
I'm the first sergeant.
Oh, sick. Okay, so you're also busy. I was first sergeant of 11, and so I'm.
Okay.
My question to all of the first sergeants that I've been mentoring and talking with is: have you had your oh shit moment?
Like 5.
Yeah. It's a moment
so
where
many.
I did not sign up for this. Whatever it was.
Yesterday, the day before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely had my fair share of oh shit moments.
Travis?
Yeah, I'm from G2.
Oh, cool.
So I don't do much there right now. I just mostly dedicate to Bonfire, and I also have a job, and he's busy with first sergeant, so trying to help out with Bonfire as much as I can. I dedicate a lot of my time to that.
Yeah. This is great for me because I came from an outfit that did not have a whole lot of Bonfire involvement, so this is going to be a huge, me asking you guys a bunch of questions learning experience. So I guess my first one is, what are y'all's positions in Bonfire, and what are the different levels, different command positions?
We're both regimental buttpots. So I'm the CLH buttpot. He's the NSW buttpot. CLH for Christopher Lee Hurd, one of the 12 that died, Nathan Scott West. The best Corps term I can feel to describe is we're major unit commanders.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, so under us are outfit buttpots, which is typically a junior, sometimes a sophomore. We have both junior and sophomore outfit buttpots. They're like outfit commanders. They are in charge of running their Bonfire crew. Under them are usually anywhere from 1 to 3 piss pots. Those are generally always sophomores. And those are kind of your PSG level type positions. Now, above us, so we're regimental buttpots. Bonfire is not just the Corps. There's a bunch of non-reg crews. They have a similar command structure. They're a little smaller than us, so it's a little different. They call their regimental buttpots yellow pots. And then under them are buttpot equivalents. Above all of those yellow pots, those regimental buttpots, are upper leadership. You'll hear us say UL a lot, probably. That usually refers to your reds, greens, and browns. Brown pots are simple. They have the chainsaws. Green pots, all female leadership. They do a lot of the admin work. And red pots, there's junior red pots and senior red pots. It's a 2-year position, so if you're a junior red pot, you're going to be a senior red pot. Your junior red pots, typically a lot more straight-faced, making sure everyone's being safe in the woods, following all the safety procedures. And then senior red pots, probably I would consider the top of the pyramid, really running everything, logistics, admin, managing the junior red pots, all the way down.
Okay. How often are Corps guys in that upper leadership? Is it typically you guys are from Corps Bonfire, but is it typically an even spread between non-regs and Corps guys in Bonfire, or is it more lean one way towards or the other?
I'd say it's a fairly even spread. This year, it's a little bit lopsided. We don't have any Corps brown pots, which is fairly rare, but we have 4 Corps red pots, 1 senior, 3 juniors, when there's normally a total of 7 junior red pots. But no, there's been there's been a cadet in a UL position pretty much every year for the past decade at least.
We're seeing a switch where we also have Madeline Leonard, who's the Green Pot.
Yeah, first Corps Green Pot.
Yeah, first Corps Green Pot I think ever. We're not sure, but we're pretty sure. We're seeing a switch where as Corps Bonfire gets bigger and we have more experience coming in every year. Like I've been doing it since I was a fish, and so is Griffing, and that's becoming more of a trend. We're seeing more experience. Hold on, let me rephrase. The Corps is building more experienced chiefs, which is causing upper leadership to pick more from the Corps for those UL positions.
Okay. So along those lines, how do you guys move up and down the chain of command? I guess hopefully never down the chain of command.
Yeah.
But if I was Fish Boyle coming in and I wanted to get involved in Bonfire, what's the progression look like through my years in the Corps? You look for more opportunities, more involvement, more chances at leadership.
Yeah, so it's a pretty simple process. It's not like getting picked up for Corps leadership at all, where there's a board or interviews or anything. It's just, let's say you want to be an outfit butt pot. Your outfit butt pot is constantly watching you and the rest of your buddies throughout the season. They say, okay, this guy's pretty motivated. He knows his stuff. He's learning a lot. And then they ask you at some point throughout the year, whenever they decide, hey, do you want to be butt pot? And then it's up to you to accept the responsibility or not. And it works pretty similar for UL in every position.
Yeah, as far as the outfit butt pots, that's pretty much up to them. The typical progression, assuming you're not going to be a regimental butt pot or yellow pot, what me and Griffing are, is your Fish Boyle puts out. He's this red ass fish. He's learning quick. He looks like he's got some leadership potential. Well, let's make him a piss pot. So now he's kind of like that PSG role. Maybe he'll take a group of fish and go clear a section of woods. And let's say he does a really good job at that and he shows good leadership qualities. Then as a junior, maybe he'll get picked up for outfit butt pot. Or he could get picked up for one of the two regimental positions. Sometimes, so in my case, I was a sophomore outfit butt pot. We didn't have any juniors in Squadron 12 that were actively participating. So I went straight to that, and then the CLH butt pot that picked me, he saw me managing an outfit as a sophomore and said, hey, I want to consider you for this position. And I took it.
Cool. What do you recommend cadets do? I think I've seen a couple of Instagram posts relating to this. What do you recommend cadets do who would like to be involved in Bonfire but don't have that type of Bonfire leadership? They don't have the organized, they don't have a butt pot, they don't have anybody else in their outfit who's really involved. Can they get attached with somebody else's outfit? Do they kind of just float? If I'm a cadet coming from an outfit that doesn't do Bonfire, how can I be involved in Bonfire?
So typically, and actually we had our informational just last night, and we had fish come out that I don't have an established crew. They got our numbers. We got them into, we have group me systems where we announce, here's where we're all going out. We're going to cut down trees. What we tell them is come out, buy your pot steel toes. You don't have to have any tools because we have plenty. Paint your pot with your outfit's colors, with your outfit's name on it. We always tell them to check the Cushing Memorial Library or old archives, see if they can find an old pot design. If not, they get to choose. It's up to them. Paint your pot however you want, and we're going to stick you with one of our established crews. You're going to cut down trees with them, you'll stack with them, but you're still representing your outfit, even if it's under the leadership of another one.
Cool. I like that. I like that a lot, keeping that outfit identity, regardless of what unit you're attached to. So, talking about big events, because you mentioned holding your informational today on the 27th, and then we have the actual burn, which I would assume is going to be the night before the TU game, which is a huge win for Bonfire and for A&M and all that.
So excited.
Yes. I know there's a couple other major events between the two, between getting started with the semester and with burn. Walk me through a couple of key moments in the bonfire stack and build and all that.
Yeah.
So the different phases, maybe that's a better way to put it.
So until about, say, mid-October?
Mid to late October,
Mid to late October, we go out pretty much every Sunday, some Saturdays, and we work from 7 or 8 in the morning till about 3 p.m. It's basically a full day, just cutting down trees. That's when all the Corps, all the crews come out, just put in work, take their axes to trees, and then make a bunch of logs out of them. There's a bunch of load and unload in between that where we take those logs from cut site, bring them over at stack site, which is about 15-20 minute drive from campus. And then starting late October, early November is when stack begins. So that's at stack site. All the logs are there. That's people running quadrants, which is those sections where the logs are going, and that's just stacking up all the logs, all the 30-foot tall logs, all the 25-foot tall logs, all the 20-foot logs until the bonfire is built, pretty much. There's one stack that's more important than the rest, in my opinion, and that's turbo stack, which is a lot of fun. So that's the very last stack of the season. There's a whole bunch of logs left. No matter how much work we've done, there's going to be a bunch of logs left, and that's just everyone goes freaking balls to the wall and just piles it on.
One of my favorite memories as a fish is going out to turbo stack, and because the actual bonfire itself is pretty much built. However, there's an outer layer of skinny trees we call high ports. So a high port's anything from 4 to 8 inches in the diameter at the base. And they say, go get high ports, just start stacking them. People are running around. It's still like managed and it's safe, but there's an element of silliness that's not there at the rest of the stacks that just make it probably one of my most memorable fish experiences ever.
Yeah. You'll see fish throwing their upperclassmen into the stack. You'll see Reds trying to manage everything around. You'll see people just yelling and whooping everywhere.
It's almost like a culmination of all the hard work from the very first cut to all the way going doing late nights out at stack.
That's awesome. Tell me about center pole and how the Corps won center pole last year.
So center pole, it's the pole in the center of the bonfire, is decided based off of attendance and logs cut down, and mostly logs cut down. The upper leadership has a formula for it, and I'm not exactly sure what the ratio of attendance and logs is. The Corps has done a really good job of working really hard and recruiting really well. It's almost like exponential growth since I was a fish, and it was pretty small to now. And the last 2 years, we've just put hard work in, been organized, and won center pole.
Nice. So the center pole's okay. Cool. Love that. So you talked a little bit about this at the start about some of the fun of bonfire and the days where you're running around like mad versus the days where you're working your tail ends off. I'm curious what the culture of bonfire is, which I know is a huge question. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to divide it into some parts. But what's the work culture like? The work environment, the people who are out there.
There's been a lot of change recently. So it's always been that kind of gritty, vulgar in a way, vocabulary, and everyone's slinging cuss words at each other. And if your buddy's swinging on a tree with an axe, you're telling him he swings like a girl, and throwing out all these insults. It's always been like that. However, there's been a shift from a kind of disorganized chaos that happens to get work done to a really well-oiled machine that also has a boatload of fun, still doing the same, heckling their buddies when they're swinging on trees and making inappropriate jokes and all the stuff that college kids do. However, since from being a fish to now, the culture has shifted a little bit to, the Corps does really hard work and has fun doing it.
Part of the culture, I'd say part of a negative culture that the non-regs view the Corps with is that the Corps always leaves at lunch, which I'll admit is pretty true. We do have a history of doing that at Cut, but to defend that, I'll just say we work harder than the rest of them do all day. So we kind of earn the right to leave at lunch.
You know what? I can respect that.
I wouldn't advocate for leaving at lunch.
Yeah. Along those lines, to dig into some of the more touchy things, what's the relationship, because it's Corps Bonfire, but it's not a Corps, it's not technically owned by the Corps.
Yeah.
And the university doesn't own Bonfire either, which I think we all knew.
Correct.
We'd just love to hear y'all's thoughts on the relationship between the Corps and Bonfire and some of the politics that are playing out right now with that.
It's gotten better. It's gotten a lot better, actually. My fish year, there was huge anti-bonfire sentiment, it's dumb and everyone's weird and why would you go do that? No, that sentiment still exists because, it falls down the classes. However, Corps staff itself, like the actual policies behind it, I remember last year they sent out a thing. You cannot explicitly or implicitly tell any of your fish to come out to Bonfire. I think they were worried about, freshmen being forced or like coerced into it. That's never been the case. Even when I was a fish, we've always been completely voluntary. However, I think there's that stigma of like, oh, who would agree to go out and do manual labor in someone's land for free? It's just like people in the Corps. When you're on the inside, you can't explain it. On the outside, it makes no sense. It's the same thing for Bonfire, and that's led to a lot of anti-Bonfire stigma. However, it's getting much better. We had our flyer in the Corps Opportunities teams this year for our informational. Now, I'm not saying that the Corps is pro Bonfire because they can't be. The university can't condone it, and that's okay. I have nothing wrong with that. But they're not talking bad about an organization that they really don't know anything about. They're just kind of neutral, which is much better than it's been in the past.
Yeah. To Kielty's point about like why would you just go out and do this work for nothing, pretty much. Not nothing. Building bonfires is a reward in itself. Do all this menial hard labor. Like I've had buddies in the past that have been like, no, I can't really come to cut today. I don't have the time. I've got homework to catch up on, stuff like that. And then I've managed to convince them to come out to cut or stack, and they've been like, their first time out there, they were like, oh wow, this is a lot of fun. Like I'm putting in work, I'm sweating a lot, but everything we do here, like we're having a good time. And then it's just got them to come out more and more.
I love that. I think, back to the General Welsh question, what are y'all's thoughts on Corps Bonfire in relation to the TU game coming back and General Welsh's decision to not bring Bonfire back to A&M in official capacity?
I completely respect it. That's a decision that's like millions of dollars above our pay grades. It was tragic what happened in '99, and to bring that back in an official capacity, in order to do that, you would have to close off an entire site and have a construction crew build it. I think I don't know. I'm not General Welsh, but he knows what made Bonfire was never the bonfire itself. It was the hard work put in by the students, the camaraderie that it created, that made Bonfire. And having a construction crew come out and build it, that's not Bonfire. It defeats the whole purpose. So honestly, I don't ever see it coming back in an official capacity, and that's okay. That doesn't worry me in the slightest.
It's the undying love all Aggies have for Texas A&M, not the undying, okay, we're going to do this job that a bunch of contractors have.
That might be the simplest and best way I've ever heard that, but I like it.
The undying love the contractors have for making money. That's funny.
You've mentioned a couple of times the stigma around Bonfire, the bad connotation. We talked about staff people explicitly saying don't promote Bonfire. How are you guys working? Just besides, I know hey, putting in the work, getting people to show out, and just showing it by your character. But what else are you guys doing to help not make Bonfire cool again, but reduce the stigma and bring back hey, this is this is something we should respect and actually build the hell out of.
It goes back to that work culture we talked about earlier. We can go out there and be stupid college kids, but still work really hard and have a blast doing it. When I was a fish, it was a lot more of a disorganized process, and some of the people that were in charge of that process did a really good job at burning bridges across the quad. It was never Bonfire itself that the people were worried about. It was some of the people in leadership positions years and years ago that were not great examples, and they weren't. But we've done a very good job of moving away from that. We have people who are squared away, want to be here, and believe that we can work really hard, have a good time, be organized, and I think it's paid off dividends. I think it's significantly more efficient than we used to be.
Yeah. I think part of the stigma in the past, a few years ago, from our fish year and before that, was oh, it's just a bunch of stupid college kids messing around in the woods, and all the outfits that were pro Bonfire were the weird outfits and all that. But like we said, we're moving away from that. we're showing, hey, this is hard work we're doing. We're going to get it done. We're going to do it well. And then we've had just a huge influx of outfits like, hey, I just want to get into Bonfire. I see like you're doing a lot of work here.
We have a lot of conversations with random members of outfits. Hey, what's this Bonfire thing about? And it doesn't end up. Oh wow, it's not for all of them, and they're like, hey, I don't think this is for us, and that's okay. My outfit butt pot year, I was talking with Madeline Leonard. She was the color guard commander on fish drill team. I was on the color guard. I was like, hey, try this Bonfire thing out. Now S1 is one of our bigger outfits. We've got a huge established crew. It's word of mouth. Enough people love going out to Bonfire. It's eventually going to spread.
So along those lines, what drew the two of you out to joining Bonfire?
So I shamefully admit that I did not go to first cut my fish year. I know that's a little bit of a sin for me for the position that I'm in, but it was my buddies that drew me out. Like the senior, we had some F1 seniors. F1 was one of those big Bonfire outfits, and then they got disbanded right before our fish year. So we had some seniors that got transferred into G2, and they went door to door just holding their pots. They were like, hey, this is Bonfire. This is cool. It'll be good bowl. You want to come out? And I was kind of apprehensive about it. I was like, no, I don't know. I got to study. It doesn't sound like that much fun. And then a bunch of my buddies went out, and they were just praising the heck out of it. Like, it's all good bowl. There's no core games or anything. We're sophomores out there. We get sophomore privileges. It's just a good time out there, and that's what got me to go. And then I went to second cut, and it was so much fun, and I've just been going out ever since, pretty much.
For me, it's a little different. So I'm a second generation talent. Like my dad was in Squadron 12, and he had like the crazy dad lore. He'd be like, oh, I'd sneak out of my room to go to stack site, and I'd be there all night, and it always just seemed like kind of foreign. And I was like, that's weird. You're weird, Dad. Shut up. But I got done with FOW, and our outfit butt pot, he's coming door to door, kind of the same thing. Come to this informational, just hear about it. And we went to the informational, and he was like, this guy is just like, who wants to go into the woods and cut down trees with nothing but hard work and axes with your buddies? I was like, that doesn't sound too bad. I can give it a shot. And it actually, I remember coming back from it. I was like, that sucked. Who would ever do that? Gosh. I went to bed and I slept on it, woke up the next morning. I was like, when's the next cut? It's like it all clicked after I slept. It was a little weird, but I was hooked since then.
I love that. What's it mean to you guys now that you've been here for 2-3 years and you've invested way more of your time into it? What keeps you at Bonfire?
It's really working towards something bigger than yourself. Like, I've had that idea in my mind before, being in the Corps, like we're all working towards developing ourselves and each other and our subordinates as leaders. But Bonfire made it click in such a way because it's literally just such a concrete thing to grasp. It's literally a giant stack of wood that you work towards building. Just the way everyone goes out there and puts in work, you're all going towards the same goal. You got the same objective. You're all just figuring out how to get there together. And it doesn't matter. That's not specific to Corps Bonfire either. That's what I love about student Bonfire as a whole, because no matter if you're non-reg or upper leadership or Corps, you're all working towards the same thing. Even if you're competing for center pole, you're all working towards that undying love to beat the hell out of TU.
I already kind of went over why I joined. Outfit butt pot, just going door to door. I was sure, I'll try it, and I got hooked. I loved going out there and cutting down trees. You could take before and after photos of the section of woods they'd give us, and you'd be like, there were trees back there, all this brush in the way, but the amount of work that you and your buddies could get done in one day with, some hatchets and an axe, it was insane. As I started to enter leadership, my reason for staying changed, because you can only get so far just going out and doing manual labor. I remember giving one of my freshmen an axe, and this smaller female, and she didn't. I don't think she wanted to hold it in her hands. She did not look. She looked nonplussed to have it in her hands, but to watch her go from this scared little fish who was scared to have this axe in her hands to now this fish who is confidently swinging on trees and and is just enjoying her time out there, that became my reason for staying. Seeing the confidence that Bonfire gave not only myself, just the ability to make quick decisions and stand by those. That's half of leadership, and I got a lot of that. But to see the people under me like grow in confidence so quickly because of Bonfire, that was like a drug, and that's the reason I stayed and continued to take leadership.
That's awesome. I think a lot of the Corps as a whole, who's not involved in Bonfire, their perception of it is just what we get from the campusology and going out to Bonfire Remembrance, which is not bad. But I am curious, being on the inside of it, how do y'all feel about the history of Bonfire, the tradition, the legacy of something that people like? It's kind of morbid to say that something that people actually died for, but like we have that ceremony every year. That's gotta mean something different to y'all than it does to the Corps at large.
I mean, everyone understands Bonfire Remembrance and the weight that has. However, a lot of people have the perception of Bonfire like, why we're not doing that. We have a remembrance every year. People died doing that. Not once have I ever talked to an old ag who has said, "Why are you still doing that?" People died doing that. My dad, he was Squadron 12, Class 95. So Christopher David Breen was Squadron 12, Class 96. He was one of the 12 that died. And all of his buddies, I mean, they come out for Parents Cut. So they actually come out once a year and cut down trees with us, and they love that we're doing it. I mean, I don't want to speak for them, but they've often said, like, I'm glad you're carrying this on. Like, our buddy would have loved this. And that maybe that's not the same for everyone. That's only experience I have with Christopher Breen and his buddies, Class 96. But not once have I ever talked to an old ag and they're like, why are you still doing that? All of them are super stoked to find out we're out there having the same experiences that they got to have.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. G2 doesn't have as much of a history with Bonfire as Squadron 12 does. I'm not ashamed to say that I've gotten fairly emotional at every remembrance I've been to. Like, it's just something that knowing you're working towards the exact same goal that people 20 years ago, 25 years ago died for, it's humbling, really, and it really puts it into perspective, like how much these people loved A&M and how much they love their buddies, and that kind of stokes a flame of love for my own buddies and this university in my heart. And like, I've also met old ags, never once heard a bad word about student Bonfire in the new Army.
Love that. That's great. Is there anything y'all want to talk about? I should have asked this at the start, but is there anything specific y'all want to cover before we close it out?
I mean, I guess the same spiel that we give the fish, because the fish are always worried about getting piss-headed out at Bonfire, is the Corps has a rule where everyone pulls out of class. So whenever a tree goes down, everybody's whooping. Even your freshmen are doing the sophomore Wildcat. Your sophomores are whooping. Your juniors are whooping. Your seniors who are still there will still whooping. We don't play Corps games out there. You'll hear a lot of times like, "There's no sirs at Bonfire." It's everyone working towards the same exact goal. That's why you have, we mentioned earlier, there are sophomore and junior buttpots. It's whoever you think is going to work the hardest, that's who's going to be in that position. It's not based off of rank. It's not based off of how many years you've been doing it. It's based off hard work. It's an organization that's not like any other on campus, I'm convinced. I love it. It's probably one of my favorite things about being a student at Texas A&M.
Yeah. I've heard people call Bonfire like one of the more cultish aspects of this cult that we already have. Like, you're just building a big campfire and burning it down in hopes that it'll somehow affect your football game the next day, right?
Whoop.
But yeah, I've hardly developed more as a leader outside of Bonfire than I have now. Like, whether it was as a piss pot last year or as a regimental so far this year, and I'm hoping that continues. I measure my success as a leader by the success of those under me. And so far, I've seen great success in both my crews and other people's crews that they're leading. And that is just wonderful to see in other people's leadership.
Okay. by tradition, the last question that I have for my guests is: you're talking to Fish Kielty, talking to Fish Griffing, not like generic Fish in the Corps, like Fish 3 years ago, day one of FOW. What advice are you giving them?
I guess this is going to be a little weird, but it's like don't be afraid to stress yourself out. The amount of times I've done stuff in the Corps or in Bonfire or any other special unit that I've forced myself to be in an uncomfortable position, I've grown immensely from. It was daunting. It was like, oh, am I really about to do all this semester? But every time it has paid off dividends, and I've become so much more confident in my own ability to lead groups and people. So I'd probably tell Fish Kielty to just thug it out and do everything.
First piece of advice, I have two. First piece of advice is go to first cut, Fish Griffing.
We'll wait for that now.
Second piece is, I gotta say, it's pretty much the opposite of what Kielty said. I've taken a lot on my plate before, and I've not been the best at keeping that balancing act going. So I've just gotta say, Fish Griffing, take a chill pill, step back, reevaluate everything you're doing, and then just hit the ground running, and then just plan it all out.
So polar opposite answers.
Not hit the ground running, but yeah.
That's a new one. I've never had that before. That was really funny. I love that a lot. Jack, Travis, thanks for coming out. Really appreciated this. I got to learn a lot. I hope whoever listens to the podcast gets to learn a lot from this. How can people get in contact with you or get in contact with Corps Bonfire, make some next steps here?
Both our numbers are on the Corps Bonfire Instagram page. Okay. Shoot us a text if you want to come out to Bonfire. Maybe it's just you. Maybe you're the only person in your outfit that wants to go. Shoot us a text, paint a pot, get some steel toes, and join us out there. We are more than happy to have you.
We are always welcoming new people to add to the numbers.
Cool. Thanks, gents. I think that's it.
Sweet.
All right.